I'm Chris Lovasco, President and CEO of the YMCA of the North Shore. At RY, nothing is more important than safety, especially when it involves the well-being of children. Yes, the policies, practices, and procedures you're about to see in this video do protect children, but they also protect you. The video was put on by our own camp leadership and Y leadership, and they're the team that are going to be there for you now and all through the summer. I hope you find it fun and informative. Kids need our summer camp now more than ever, and I'm so appreciative to have you part of the team.
Hi, I'm Matt Chmielewski, Camp Director at Camp Trickling Falls. We're up here in the beautiful East Kingston, up at Camp Trickling Falls, to discuss some quick tips for how to stay healthy this summer. It's important for you guys to make sure that you protect yourself, protect your campers, and protect the YMCA while up here. So Jerry, you've been looking over this information. We have a packet that we've created for you guys. And do you have any questions after reading it?
Actually, I do. I was looking at some of the points that you have on here, and the first one where it says drink heaps of water. I was wondering if you can tell me a little bit about. I know it's going to be site specific, but just why is it important to stay hydrated? How do I stay hydrated?
So during the camp day, we have different days of different temperatures. It's really important to make sure that not just asking those kids to drink periodically, but keeping yourself hydrated throughout the day is important. So every time those kids go to get a water break, you should be getting a drink of water too, if not more, depending on how stressful and how busy that day is.
That makes sense. That makes sense. It also says, you want to eat healthy. Now I know at camp we're bringing our own, food, and campers are bringing their own food. Do you have any tips on what kind of foods I should be bringing or how to eat healthy at camp?
Well, during the camp day, you always want to make sure you're eating healthy. We promote eating healthy to those kids when they're here, to all of our campers. But it's equally as important to make sure that you're eating healthy outside of camp. I know from my experience as a camp counselor that the first thing I want to do after camp is to go out and grab something quick to eat before going out with friends. And sometimes that means eating unhealthy, like eating at fast food restaurants. And that might be great for the short term, but it won't help during the long term time of the summer. So please make sure you guys are trying to eat healthy, like your fruits, vegetables, your hydration, and all of those things.
Makes sense. Now, it is summertime, so I know a lot of our counselors, me included, it's summer. It says here about getting plenty of sleep. Is that really important? Because, I have all day at camp and then I only have a limited amount of time to hang out with friends. Why is that important?
Well, the campers deserve your attention and your 100% every day. And again, we all know after the camp day that we're going to want to go hang out with friends and family and do things.
Right.
But it is truly important to make sure that you get enough sleep so that that kid, the day 2 and week 2 of camp, get the same positive, upbeat experience that that kid day 1 got.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. All right. I wasn't thinking of it that way. That was good. We're going to be with our campers all day. Can you talk a little bit about how, or what's the best way for me to participate with the campers? Like with, specific activities or?
Super question. So we always tell our staff to make sure that you're being engaged with the kids throughout the day. Being engaged with your kids means participating in all of their activities in a positive way. So when they're at arts and crafts or on the field, whether or not you're into those activities, it's important for you to put on your game face and go do that. You'll get buy-in from your kids that will help you later on down the road. It will also help keep your kids and yourself safe during those times, because we find that when campers and camp counselors are engaged, less behavior incidents, less other things happen, and you're more likely to stay safe throughout the camp day.
That makes sense. We talked a little bit about some of the healthy habits. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe some unhealthy habits I should avoid, during my summer at camp?
So again, we understand that you have your own personal life and that there are things going on at home that you can do, playing video games late into the night, hanging out with friends and partying and doing those things. But you have to understand that, again, the kids deserve the best experience possible. And coming into work not feeling great, under the weather, is clearly not a recipe for success when giving a quality product. So please make sure that you're being responsible when you're at home. If you do something, make sure you're prepared for the next day and it doesn't impact the quality of camp.
Well, that leads perfectly to my next question, because what if I've been doing all the right things, but I still feel ill or unhealthy, like I just don't feel like I can, give the camper that experience? What should I do? What's the protocol for if I need to call out?
So at our camp and at all of our camps, we ask that our staff give as much notice as possible. So it's important for us to be able to prepare for the next day, so the more notice we have as admin, the more time we have to prepare that next counselor that's taking over for you. We clearly want you to be safe and healthy. We don't want you showing up here and being sick and getting your co-counselor sick and the other kid sick, and we want you to be able to get better so you can be at 100%. So again, if you feel sick the day before, please shoot a text, give a call to your camp admin team to make sure you may not be coming in, and as soon as you know you're not, make that communication happen so that we have time to make sure the next day is successful for all.
That's a good point. If I want to go and learn more about these, safe tips, staying healthy, and everything else, what is a good resource for me to go find, or do you have one available that I can look at?
Great question. So attached to this video, you're going to find policies, practices, and guidelines for all of the YNS, Y of the North Shore camps regarding these and additional practices. And please always be sure to check in with your staff team at your local camp for additional policies, practices, and guidelines.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
Hi, this is Mac Wallace, Director for Children's Island Day Camp. I have with me today Matt Chmielewski, Camp Director of Trickling Falls. So Matt had a couple questions about sight and sound supervision. So what's up, Matt?
Yeah, well, we talk about sight and sound supervision in all of our trainings. Could you tell me a little bit more about what sight and sound supervision means?
Great, no, that's awesome. So sight and sound supervision means that I can hear and see what's going on with our campers. All right, so it's not one or the other, it's both working together to make sure our campers are safe.
Okay, so for example, if I'm a new counselor and I want to know about sight and sound supervision at the bathrooms and changing rooms, what does that look like?
Right, and that's a very good question. That can be one of the most difficult places. So the biggest thing with that is making sure you're positioning yourself in an area that you can visibly see what's going on and what's happening underneath the stalls, and then even most importantly, hearing what's going on. So if there are more than 2 sets of feet under a stall, we know we can stop that immediately.
Awesome. And as a director, we know that there are other areas at camp that can be difficult places for sight and sound supervision without training. So can you tell me a little bit more about the waterfront, one of our most risky activities?
Yeah, and the most fun too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So for that, you want to make sure, again, as a counselor, you're actively engaging with the kids, right? So you don't have your back to the water, you don't have your back to your group of campers. You're making sure you're positioning yourself so you can see everything that's going on. In terms of sound, just making sure that you're working closely with the lifeguards and making sure that you can still hear and see what's going on at the same time.
Awesome. And one more, there are other blind spots at camp that we know are difficult areas to monitor. So can you give us an example of some of those other blind spots?
Yeah, again, as long as we are actively supervising campers, we should always stay away from the blind spots. But there are some in which we have, right? For instance, like this playground right here. We have things like the slide, the bars up here when they get up running around there, even down here. As counselors, we need to talk about 360 degrees of supervision. I need to make sure that I'm putting myself in a point where I can see and hear everything going on. This might mean we need 2 counselors. It's working closely with your director to say, hey, this spot I can't see and hear everything, I need help. Or maybe we can only stay on this side, and then if you want to go there, I can position myself over there. Again, it's making sure you're putting yourself in a position to keep our campers safe so you can keep yourself safe too.
That brings me to one other question. And you mentioned having 2 counselors. I think sometimes it's difficult for our staff to realize that you do have help around. So is it okay, and what can I do when I have to interject or interact with the kids during a time when I'm supervising? How can I still make sure that the group is being supervised during those times when my attention is drawn someplace else?
Right. I think the biggest thing with that is making sure that if you are feeling overwhelmed, that it's just quick to say, hey group, come on over, we're just going to take a quick break and we're just going to re-go over the rules real quick. It gives yourself a chance to kind of reset, and it also gives the kids a chance to kind of just rehear what they need to do to make sure that they keep safe. Make sure you're real positive and you're reinforcing the things that they can do. And if after the fact maybe even ask them, what are some things that could be unsafe about this? And maybe they can give you an answer. In terms of if you need help and need another counselor, make sure you're advocating that to your director. Please feel confident speaking to your directors about, hey, I need help here. That's what we're here to do, is we're here to help support you. So if you need it, it's our duty to make sure that we can help support you in those areas.
Thanks, Mac. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm here to talk to you about aquatic safety at camp. Whether you're at the pool or the waterfront, you need to remember that the lifeguard is always in charge. But you as camp counselors have an important role. You need to make sure that you are in the water with your swimmers, you're doing regular buddy checks, and helping to make sure that they have their green to-go bands or their life jackets on whenever you're at a waterfront.
Hi, Miss Stephanie. I'm here to take the swim test. I want to get a green band. What do I have to do?
Awesome. All right, first you're going to jump into the pool and go all the way under the water.
Okay.
Then when you get to the surface, you're going to tread water for 30 seconds.
Got it.
And swim all the way to the end where your camp counselor will put your green band on after you climb out all by yourself.
Make sure you check with your local pool or waterfront to know how often and when swimmers need to do the swim test. All right, we want to make sure whenever our swimmers have life jackets on that our life jackets fit properly. They need to be wearing life jackets if they don't pass the swim test or choose not to, and anytime we go on a boat. My friend Mac is going to show us how to make sure a life jacket fits properly.
Awesome. Hey, Matt, we're getting ready to go on the waterfront. Go ahead, if you can, just go ahead and buckle up your life jacket for me. Great, that looks good. You excited to swim today?
Totally excited.
Awesome.
We're waiting for this all winter long.
Cool. Okay, go ahead and just lift your arms up. Great. Turn your head left to right. Good. All right. Check. Does that feel comfortable?
Yep.
Good. Awesome job. We're ready to go.
Our camp counselors and lifeguards need to make sure they're helping kids stay safe in the water. If you're in doubt, check it out. If you don't know, go. If something's happening in the water, you need to blow your whistle, hop in and help them if you don't know what's going on.
Hi, I'm Matt Beaver from the Beverly YMCA. I'm the camp operator there. With me right here is Mac Wallace. He's the camp director at Children's Island at LVO. We're here to talk about bullying. Bullying is something that happens at camp. It's not something that we really enjoy. It's something that we always want to prevent. So we're going to have a couple conversations about this right now. So Mac, what type of questions do you have about bullying?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is there a way that we can break down bullying into like a simple form? Like what are the different types of bullying that we would see at camp?
Well, we have the physical bullying, which is the most obvious, but it happens. So kids pushing, kicking, hitting, all those types, whether hitting or being some type of abuse where you can see, and it's pretty much right there, and there's signs. Then there's the verbal abuse, where you'll see kids that will group up, usually one victim, a couple of kids, and they'll say some tough things. You know, they'll hurt their feelings, they'll say something about their features or all of that. Those are the ones that it's usually done, you know, off to the side in our down free times. And then our last one is social, which is our social bullying, which happens, you know, it's not always at camp. So something could happen at camp and they go home and they'll put it on social media and all of that stuff. Those are the types of ones that we're seeing, those are the three phases.
Nice, Matt. So what are some ways we can prevent these different types of bullying at our camp properties?
Well, if you see it, you stop it. You don't engage in it. You make sure that that is done. We as camp counselors, we don't tolerate that type of stuff. We don't tolerate hitting. We don't tolerate verbal abuse. We don't tolerate any ways of making another person feel bad. We demonstrate the good behaviors, and we make sure that they know that these are the successful ways to have a day at camp.
No, that's awesome. So you mentioned earlier about spots that bullying can happen on camp. So what are some of those spots on camp that bullying most likely to happen?
Bullying happens a lot during the free time. Those activities when it's not a specialist led and not everyone's grouped. Bullying happens in a before care, after care. Bullying can happen at lunchtime if your staff aren't spread out where they're supposed to be. Bullying can happen at locker room times if there's one person that's getting most of the attention. So what we do is active supervision. We need to make sure that our staff are where they're supposed to be, and knowing that small groups by themselves far off is not a good thing. We gotta make sure they're always there together, and you'll see less of that type of stuff. We brought Darlene here to talk about a tough subject of peer sexual abuse.
So thanks, guys. You've done a great job talking about bullying at our camp and preventing bullying. One of the things we've learned is that when children bully, it quite often leads in to that camper-to-camper abuse. And child sex abuse, like all things, is something that is preventable. We can prevent the peer-to-peer sex abuse by you, our counselors, being actively engaged, supervising, not sight or sound supervision, but that supervision Mac has talked to you about of sight and sound supervision. Matt talks to you about how your groupings are. Is there an imbalance of power between your campers? When you see that, step up and make a change. Talk to your local Y director and say, I'm seeing a problem between these campers, before it comes something more. It's about a safe camp being a fun camp. These guys can help you make that happen.
Hi, I'm Jerry Justice. I'm the Camp Star Director, and today we're talking a little bit about what it means to be an inclusive camp and what you can do to make sure that your camps are all inclusive. And I have Mac Wallace here with me today, and he's going to be asking some questions, and we're going to be having a conversation to let you know some of the guidelines and some of the things that you can do to make sure that you're being inclusive. How you doing, Mac?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, Jerry.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the biggest questions I have when we talk about inclusive, like, what does that mean? Is it the rich kids and the poor kids? Is it a race thing?
Right, that's a great question.
What does it mean?
Inclusive, it can mean a lot of different things, and there's a broad spectrum for what we're talking about with being inclusive or having an inclusive camp. It's social, it's economical, it's sexual identity. It's a lot of things wrapped up to where we want to make sure that each kid coming in whatever situation they're coming in and what they're bringing with them, they're able to enjoy camp just like everybody else can enjoy camp. So whether that means that we have someone that is on the social scale to where they don't come from a lot of money, or if they have a lot of money, the camp experience should be equal to all, and it should be able and affordable and made available to all.
What are some tips and tricks that I can give counselors to make sure we're creating this inclusive environment at our camp property?
Well, the first thing that I would say is for counselors to listen. We want to make sure that they're listening to their campers and addressing their needs. If we have a camper that is maybe having questions about their gender identity, maybe their sexual orientation, maybe about their social economical situation coming from home, we want to make sure that in the end that campers get to choose. They get to choose the experience that they have at camp, and that our counselors are being respectful of those choices. They're being empathetic towards the situations as they arise. And I think if our counselors are doing that, the camper is going to have a better camp experience.
Hi, I'm Darlene. I'm the Director of Risk Management for the YMCA of the North Shore. Today I'm here to talk to you about camp safety and, most importantly, having a summer of fun. What we all know is that a safe camp is a happy camp, is a fun camp. One of the things we do to keep camp safe and fun is really to keep a focus on our campers. And today I want to talk to you about preventing child sex abuse. One of the biggest reasons for all the policies, guidelines, practices that you've heard about today is really to prevent child abuse, child neglect, from a number of levels. But child sex abuse is prevalent. As a YMCA, we're an attraction point to predators. And predators are not just that stranger danger. We're all very familiar with stranger danger. We want to make sure only those people we know are on our camp properties. But it's also about knowing ourselves and knowing those people around us. What we have learned is that you typically will not find an abuser abusing. You will find an abuser, a predator, that breaks the rules. A predator who grooms not only the children, but their co-workers, their friends, their parents. They're anyone. The predator could be amongst our camp. We need you to be diligent. We need you to be aware of our policies and our practices so that you can stop child sex abuse. We can stop the groomer. The way we stop a groomer is when you see those rules being broken. When you see that individual who's chosen a child that's their special child, is showing favoritism, giving gifts, giving rides. It may seem harmless, but it goes against our rules and policies. We need you to tell us. Report, report, report. You are not reporting that someone is a child abuser. You're reporting that somebody is breaking the rules. If you come upon a bathroom or a secluded area and one of your coworkers is there with a camper, you know that's not allowed. That's one-on-one contact. We wouldn't allow that. Interrupt that behavior. Remind them this is not safe for them, the camper, or our Y. And then report. Tell your camp director. Call the association office. If in doubt, we want you to reach out. Use our red flag reporting. Tell us rules are being broken. Sometimes it's a gentle reminder to a coworker, and we will do that. Other times, it's a little more serious. But if we are all going to join together and prevent child abuse, child sex abuse, we need to ensure that all the policies, all the practices, all the guidelines that my friends have talked to you about today are followed, and when they are not, they are reported on. Learn about red flag reporting. Learn your EAP. They are all attached in your manual. Know them. Don't let a child be abused this summer. It's keeping you safe, keeping our campers safe, and keeping our YMCA safe. It's all our jobs. Thank you. Well, we spent a couple days getting some video together for you to go over some of the policies, and I couldn't be more thankful for this group that is around me today. As they all know, my favorite motto is a safe camp is a fun camp. We're making memories of a lifetime. You as the camp counselor make a difference. So, Matt, you talked a lot today about bullying and preventing bullying at our camps. You've got one more chance. Let's tell all our counselors, what's the one thing you want them to know?
By being a good role model and working together and knowing your group, that's the best way to prevent bullying and not giving those downtimes.
It's so true. What you do in engaging with your camper is going to make the difference of stopping bullying at our camp. Mac, you were great. You dove into those supervision policies and touch policies, but what's the one thing you want to tell our counselors this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we need to remember is sight and sound supervision. It's not one or the other. If we want to keep our campers safe, we have to have both.
Yeah, and it's so critical as you're out at camp this summer. You will find so many places that campers can get off to. Remember, name, face, where are they? Those counts, they all matter, and they matter to make a difference for that summer. Stephanie, talking about diving into things, those pools, those waterfronts, those are risky situations for us. What is it you're telling our counselors to do this year?
Test, mark, and protect. Swim test your swimmers, mark them with a green band, and protect them with a life jacket.
Yeah, test, mark, protect are such key words for us. Some of my other favorites of aquatics. If you don't know, you go. When you see a swimmer struggling, go. Blow that whistle, pull them out. Better to be wrong and not need to make a save than to make a save, not make a save that needed to be made. Jerry, we are a Y. We include everybody. We don't discriminate on anything. And you touched upon that inclusive environment. How do we really embrace that at our camp this summer?
I think the most important way is for our counselors to listen. I want the counselors to listen to their campers, and I want to make sure that they are giving the campers the choice. I want them to be empathetic and respectful of the choices, whether it be choice of bathroom, choice of dress, whatever that choice may be. That's how I want the camper, or that's how I want the counselor to interact with our campers this year.
Yeah, it's amazing when we try to be an inclusive camp. We have everybody coming to us, and you know, one of the biggest things our counselor can do is listen, be empathetic, but also remind your other campers they need to be empathetic, they need to be respectful, and that starts with you, the counselor, giving that direction. And speaking of the counselor being so important, I know it's a favorite topic of my friend Matt Chmielewski. Tell us, how does staff keep themselves safe, and why is it so important?
So guys, you've been hired because we think you're the right people for the job. You're caring, you're compassionate, and we couldn't do this without you. In order to provide a safe and fun camp, you need to be present. So my one tip is, in all of your decisions this year at camp, please make sure you're keeping yourself safe and healthy.
So our motto to all of you are, keep yourself safe, keep our campers safe, keep our YMCA safe. It starts with you. We have one more request for you. After watching this video, it is attached, there is a lot of attachments, a lot of documents from SAFE and EAP, policies, practices, and guidelines. Keep those open, because also attached is a test. We need you to go through and show us that yes, you've seen the video, yes, you understand the policies, and complete that test. Once we have that test back in hand, that will allow you to begin your employment. Begin your actual day of creating lifetime memories at the YMCA. Thank you for all that you do.